Hello, hello. Thank you everyone for joining us again. I'm really excited about this week's video because we are wrapping up our boundaries workshop and we're getting ready to transition into embodiment with red flags. Today I am here with Sara Elizabeth and we are going to be talking about how to set healthy boundaries as our last week. So, it's been fascinating. That's all I have to say. It's been fascinating as we've integrated this clear on boundaries.
So fascinating. The things that have come up. Oh my goodness. I'm like astounded and I want to say surprised, but also not. It's just deeper layers of the onion, right?
Yeah. And I want to invite everyone to follow us on the socials because we've been posting about our personal shares. And it's been fascinating too to see like what my integration has been like around releasing pissed off from boundaries and what yours has, because mine has very much been, mine was the bodily or consent and bodily autonomy. That's what really got me that whole week that we were integrating that. And then yours was conformity, which was totally different.
Yeah, completely different. But also I feel like it paralleled and crossed over in a lot of ways. It's definitely been a hot topic. So
yeah, it definitely has. All right. So today we're going to be talking about how to actually set these healthy boundaries. Some of this we have talked about in the other videos. I invite you to go and take a look at the playlist. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. All right. Can you see this?
I can see. Just needs to be scrolled up just a little bit.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so today we are talking about setting healthy boundaries, and we're sort of coming full circle as we've moved through the workshop and we've moved through our clearing and integration. So we just want to come back and highlight some key points and just sort of, as a reminder, and to, just hone in on these specific aspects. So the first thing that we want to do when we're considering setting boundaries and really leaning into and implementing is that we want to visualize and name. And so a really good way to do that is to reflect. So when we're reflecting, we can write down people or areas of your life that cause you stress or drain your energy. These are things that don't make you feel good as compared to those things that do. And write down who or what makes you feel safe and supportive. And a really good way that I like to do this is a little exercise where you actually draw a circle. And inside of that circle, you can name those environments that make you feel safe, happy. They are not draining your energy. The names of people who are making you feel safe and happy and who are respectful of your boundaries. And on the outside of that circle with the line of the circle that's your boundary. So on the outside, anything and everything that does not make you feel safe, secure, and happy.
I love that. I think this is really important because as we are in it, which I feel like as survivors, a lot of times, countless times, right? We talk about how we thrive in the chaos. So when we're in the chaos, and that's our comfort zone because we've been in the chaos for so long and we're in it, it's really hard to see. So I love that, it's hard to see what causes stress and what does actually drain your energy because it's just been our norm for so long. So I love this last question here of who or what makes you feel safe and supported. So for those of you who are journalers, I'm a journaler. This is where I'm able to get everything out is amazing. And I like the exercise that you also just gave about the circle because that could actually go along with the journaling. Really good question to ask. Love it. There we go.
Okay, so the other thing to really, really be conscious and aware of when we're setting healthy boundaries is communication. So we always want to clearly and openly express your needs and desires, whatever those may be. It's good to, focus on your breath, stabilizing, regulating the nervous system, especially if you are feeling tentative or maybe even afraid of naming and communicating your boundary. And then always remembering to have an assertive energy. So being assertive and verbalizing your needs kindly and directly. And that's a really important aspect of it, is that we are coming from a place of kindness, but also being direct.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep. Again, I invite everyone to follow us on the socials because we both did a really good post and personal share about how we were implementing this communication and how we were being assertive yet kind. That's the thing, right? It's being assertive yet kind and direct. This is huge. Direct.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And also just speaking to like the conformity that was coming up for me. It's so interesting because, I know that we've moving into the next weeks around red flags, and that conformity actually being a red flag. It can show up as a red flag. So I'm excited to have that conversation.
Me too. It's going to be good. It's going to be so good. Okay.
Okay, so we always want to reiterate and uphold our boundaries when we're communicating. Most people, and this is a key word, most people, generally speaking, will be willing to respect your boundaries, but they may need reminders. And so this can show up in any situation, whether it be a romantic partner, a work environment, it can be any situation that you're trying to establish boundaries. And sometimes if they aren't used to you using your voice and really being in your power and establishing boundaries, they just might need to be reminded. And eventually they will get it if they are willing to be respectful. And then if the boundaries are not upheld after repeatedly, showing up in that way, then it's choosing another action. What are you going to do when those boundaries are not seen and upheld?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this goes back to our very first video and conversation we probably had leading up to the clearing session. I think it was probably the very first video we did in week 1 of the workshop. And I really like how, our boundaries are not necessarily for others, it's for us. And what are we going to do whenever they get crossed? So this is really amazing because people do need reminders at first, especially if these are long-term relationships and they're not used to hearing your boundaries, because a lot of times we have unspoken boundaries and we're not communicating. That's something else that we've already covered. But I love this part about choosing another action, because when we start to uphold our boundaries, this is when the people, places, and things start to fall away. And it's also an opportunity to continue to keep people, places, and things in your life, but loving them from a distance, or then just completely letting go, right? Letting go and allowing that to fall away. Because once things that aren't serving us or in our highest and best, not supporting us, not being our biggest cheerleaders and helping us be better, do better, then it creates so much space and opportunity for other things to now begin to come into your life.
Yes, so much expansion. And then again, it goes back to, we teach people how to treat us. And eventually they get it or they don't, right?
Yep. They get it or they don't. And then once you start to experience the people in your life who actually do treat you with kindness and honor your boundaries and honor who you are and celebrate who you are, then you then interact with the people who don't, there is just a huge difference. You'll be, yeah. And then you'll sit there and go, that was my life.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so self-care, and this is a big one. And so many of us forget this one. We give and give and give and give, and we forget to come back to self and center. So don't be afraid to say no and take space and time for self-care. Self-care is a key factor in creating greater emotional capacity. So, when we're talking about setting boundaries, number one, we have a greater capacity to be able to even establish a boundary or recognize that there needs to be a boundary, because sometimes I feel like we can get into this space of doing, and we're giving. We want to be nice, and we want to, be in this place where we're supporting and holding space for other people. And we just don't even recognize where the boundaries are already being crossed. So when we talk about self-care, we're coming back to, like, are we meditating? Are we spending time in nature? Are we nourishing our bodies in the way that is going to be for our highest and best? And, there's even like somatic practices that you can incorporate into your daily life. Are you surrounding yourself with, I feel like even a form of self-care is even surrounding yourself with people who are going to respect your boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, I feel like self-care equals sovereignty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so whenever we are, and this is really for all the people pleasers and martyrs out there, and I can say this because that's me.
Mm-hmm.
I was a recovering people pleaser for sure. And also in human design, I have a 3 line, which is the martyr. So I feel like, yeah, when I wasn't doing the self-care and I wasn't operating from a state of sovereignty. And so a lot of my feelings would come out sideways. And then a lot of my actions would come out sideways as well. And they weren't, even though my intention was great and for the best, I would do a lot of, I'm trying to even think, you've known me for a while. So it was one of those things where I would always put all of my everything into something, right? Whether it was a relationship or work or a cause or an event or whatever it was. And I put my everything into it, completely deplete myself. And then when I didn't get appreciation or felt appreciated, let me put it that way, or felt gratitude or appreciation, then I would go into complete, what's the word? You have known me for a while, so you know this cycle that I used to go through.
Oh, it's martyr.
Yeah, it was total martyr. And then I'd isolate myself and, just all the things, and just emotions would come out sideways, where once I broke that cycle and I had this in my awareness that I wasn't caring for myself, then everything changed. Now, when I put myself first, it's that whole, like, putting the oxygen mask on yourself in the airplane. You have to do that, because once I started doing that, now I'm in a state of sovereignty where I don't get triggered or activated in that way. And it's also really easy for me to say no to the things that don't light me up. Or if I'm not coming from a replenished state, then I know it's my own boundaries again. It's not boundaries with others, but it's my own boundaries. Self-care helps me reiterate my own boundaries for self. So I think this is huge. 100%. It's self-care equals sovereignty for me.
I love that so much. I resonate very, very deeply with that. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that, when you're talking about being in this place of giving, and sort of going into the space of martyr, I think another thing that helps, and this is also self-care and setting a boundary, but just becoming familiar with where the energetic exchange is fair, so that when you are giving of yourself, you are also receiving something in exchange, whether, it may just be an energy. I don't know. That's just sort of a thought process that I was moving through just then.
I know you and I always go deep into these conversations because we both have that 3 line in human design. So we know each other pretty well at this point with everything. So it's been really cool to see us transition out of that through the years. So, and it's all just this deconditioning, deprogramming, and rewiring, right?
Yeah, it's the work we do. I love it.
Yeah. Are we finished with this? Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think this is amazing. We've had a lot of engagement about the different topics that we've been talking about here with the Boundaries Workshop. It's been really beautiful to witness everyone else's integration as they've been unweaving the emotional block of pissed off.
Yeah, this has been big too.
It has. It's been so big. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has joined us. You have the workshop for free for 1 more week here on the YouTube channel. After that, it's going to be in the Red Lotus Life membership or available for purchase outside of that. If you have enjoyed this or learned something new, we invite you to subscribe, like, and share, or to somebody that you may know that could use this information. And then if you're interested in diving deeper, we invite you to join us in the Red Lotus Life membership. And there's a link below to join. This is where we go deeper into conversation. We have more emotional clearing and resources. I mean, just all kinds of fun stuff in there.
And support.
Yes, support, because you actually have access to us as well. Yeah. So just a reminder that next week we're going to be transitioning into embodiment. We're going to be doing another free workshop on embodiment that will include an emotional clearing. This is going to have a focus on red flags and how to recognize them. Yeah. So have an amazing and beautiful week, and we will talk soon.
Bye.
And live your life today.